The guy was just, he was so genuine. I'd never met anybody as genuine as that guy in my entire life. I mean, 3 or 4 days and he's changed the way I've looked at everything.
A great man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was biologist Dr. Jamie Seymour, who had only joined Steve's crew, I think, 4 days before that fatal day. Is that right?
That's exactly right, on the Friday. And we had never met him before. He walked on the boat, he brought specimens for different things that were like box jellyfish, stuff like that, specimens to explain to Steve. Steve came to me after he listened to Jamie talk for a couple of minutes and he said, "Steve, John, I love this guy. He's just like me." And he did. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's terrific.
When Steve was brought back to the boat, did you think there was a chance of resuscitating him at that point?
To be honest, no. I thought I knew that I don't know, I just knew he wasn't going to make it, and he hadn't made it. I think what the efforts that we put into it, we had to do, but I think it was 50 minutes of futile sort of emergency work there. But it was very evident to me that there was no pulse. People, they were saying he didn't have a pulse. I really think he died fairly quickly.
Did you think he was invincible?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I never thought he'd die. We talked times about it. We had close calls a lot of times on these shoots. We were, you'd get close to a crocodile or a snake nearly bit him. We'd always think, oh boy, we're going to cop one bite somewhere, but he never did. And I always used to think, oh, okay, he's going to go, okay, fine, we'll be fine. I always worried about him when he was diving because I don't dive and I had no control over anything we were doing there. So if he'd go down and dive with sharks and stuff, that did frighten me.
But you told me even there on the back of the boat that you somehow thought he was going to wake up and go off.
We were all doing CPR and I thought any minute now he's going to say, "Get off me, go, what are you doing, get away." I just felt that there was going to be something there that he was just fooling us, but there wasn't.
You look at that now, you look at the stuff we've shown there and it's, he's alive.
Do you know what, you'll never ever put him to sleep. He's never ever going to die in people's memory. Television will run those documentaries forever and a day. He'll appeal to every generation from now on. He's just that sort of guy. Yeah,
all right. Well, Steve Irwin was the ultimate wildlife warrior. As John said, in life as in death, he fought to save animals and the wild environment that we live in. He ploughed the money that he made from his films and television projects into conservation, including his own zoo and the Australian Wildlife Hospital in Queensland, right through to buying large tracts of land for a refuge for wildlife. It was no surprise to those who knew him that he was a passionate bloke, a man who you could say was wild about life.
I've been put on this planet to protect wildlife and wilderness areas, which in essence is going to help humanity. I want to have the purest oceans. I want to be able to drink water straight out of that creek. I want to stop the ozone layer. I want to save the world.
Steve Irwin was a genuine one-off. He could say things like that without sounding pompous or vain. Why? Because he believed in them.
I think I've actually got animals so genetically inside me that there's no way I could actually be anything else.
Steve Irwin that you saw on the TV was the Steve Irwin in real life. It was as though the man was had just drunk too much red cordial. That's the way he was. He was full of passion about the environment and he wanted to do something.
It was a passion that came from his family.
My mum and dad were childhood sweethearts. My mum was a maternity nurse who had a passion for saving wildlife, and my dad was a plumber who had a passion for reptiles. My dad, just the legend of the universe. He was like larger than life. He was just like this action hero. He was everything I wanted to be. And all I've done in my life is follow in his footsteps, mimic him, and try to be him. And nowadays, I just try to make him proud, mate.
There was only one career for a boy who was repeatedly sent off by his father on crocodile catching expeditions in far north Queensland.
I was catching crocs and I was happy.
These animals date back nearly 200 million years.
He'd been given a video camera by his father, and some of those tapes found their way to producer John Stainton, the man who'd eventually become not only his producer, but his closest friend.
Turn like this one.
I'd met Steve in the late 80s doing TV commercials, and I'd used some of the animals from the Queensland Fauna and Reptile Park, as it was then named. He'd given me about 16 videotapes that he'd recorded catching crocodiles. So one night I got home and watched this tape till 3 o'clock in the morning. And at the end of that, I was so amazed by the vision I'd seen. It was so different, it was so unique.
But Steve Irwin was always much more than a jungle gym in shorts, although it was that image that first caught the eye of the woman who became his wife.
I think I fell in love with his spirit. So after talking to him and finding out that he absolutely lives for his conservation work, I was really attracted to those ethics. But I did notice the great shorts.
I'm really lucky that I've got the most drop-dead gorgeous wife on earth who is just so strong.
But it was the public who loved him best. First of all, and most of all, in the United States. From the start, his crocodile hunter programs in America were a runaway success.
Quite an impressive animal, very strong. And tell you what, with those tusks, he'd split me from one end to the other.
But no matter how far and how wide he roamed, he still called Australia home. And his heart belonged to his family.
I love my parents just so much, mate. You know, like my mum, how'd you be? You know, I was born on her birthday, and all she ever did was just love me and prop me up. And the day that my mum went was the day I lost something. Lost something really big.
And there was a very special place for his children, especially for Bindi, who is clearly following in her father's footsteps.
One of the greatest battles that I've got is trying to keep Bindi normal, like spending as much time as she wants with other kids, but also by the same token, taking her everywhere. You know, take her out of school. If I'm going jumping on Crocs, then by crikey, I want her jumping on Crocs with me.
Where did you get this?
The global thirst for Bindi television is incredible. We don't let her do too many interviews. We don't let her do too many photo shoots. John has got the best idea on what is good television and what isn't.
You say it with me. But no one else can go in here. Do you know why? Because it's my zoo and I'm going to run it someday.
It's her zoo and she's going to run it someday. Is that true?
Yeah. She said to me one day, I said to her, what do you want to be when you grow up, Bindi? And she said, I want to be like you, Johnny. I said, why is that? Because she said, you tell my daddy what to do.
She wants to be the boss.
Yeah.
Did she have no fear? She's got no fear?
No fear at all. You could put snakes, spiders on her face, anything. She loves spiders, she loves snakes. She's terrific. She can do anything.
You know, looking at Steve with the crocodiles at the zoo, did they know him?
Oh.
He went in there so many times.
Everyone says that, you know, they have got a small brain and they're dumb, you know, they haven't got any intelligence, but they do. He caught nearly every one of those crocs that are in that zoo. And when we were filming in the zoo and doing stuff with crocodiles, we'd have to leave him outside the enclosure, way away, because they knew his voice. As soon as he walked in and he started talking, they'd be in defence and they'd go in. It was amazing that they knew exactly where he was. They knew his voice.
What they wanted to do, pay him back?
They wanted to kill him, yeah. He always said that. They always want to kill me.
How did you know? Just quickly, I mean, in essence, how could you communicate? How did you know this bloke's got something that no one else on television's got?
You can see it. You look at him and you know that. Everyone that sees Steve now, and he has not changed one iota from the day I started filming with him 15 years ago to today. And I never, ever changed anything he said. He used to, very Australian ways of saying Australian and magnificent. He had a lot of funny traits with what things he said. And I never imprinted on him. I never wanted to correct him because I wanted him to be him, not a product of a producer.
But he loved that camera. He'd say, come with me.
He did.
Bring the camera with him.
He did. He used to shove that old camera that he had up in a tree, horizon running downhill, and he'd talk to it, and this is in the 80s, and then he'd sort of say, there's something over there, and he'd run off, and then you'd think, I'm going to fast forward now, I can't watch this anymore. He'd come running back to the camera, pick it up, he'd say, sorry, nearly forgot you, and take the camera off. He just had a way about him from day one.
And from day one, did you know this bloke's magic?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did. Yeah.
Well, you probably did have to be too smart to do that. When we return, some new pictures of Steve and the family.